Personal note before we start. Tonight's show is a dangerous topic for anyone to dare utter or question. We find ourselves now living more and more each day in a world where freedom of thought, freedom of speech, frankly, all basic independence is being beaten back by the mob, the media, their financial backers, and the authoritarian thugs that call themselves our political representatives. Tonight's episode may not last the night on YouTube, and we have found that they will use any excuse at any time. We will not be silenced. We will not kneel. We will not apologize for the things that we believe. I also believe that your voice is perhaps much more important than my voice, which, in a way, it doesn't make sense until you hear me out why we are now going to turn off the live commenting feature on YouTube. We're doing that because we found yesterday, Google, the parent company of YouTube, just used yesterday a random comment off of somebody just commenting on a page as an excuse to demonetize and flex their muscles against freedom of speech. They did it with Zero Hedge and The Federalist. We want you to know you can still freely post comments and discuss your ideas even if we radically disagree on Blaze TV. Censorship is in the air. I don't know how much longer that anyone who dares go against the mob will be allowed on the big tech platforms. I'm hoping something changes in Washington and Congress does their job. The Blaze not only believes in free speech, but we believe that the only speech that needs protection is the speech that you disagree with. And, honestly, the speech that makes you maybe perhaps a little uncomfortable. It makes you uncomfortable because it makes you think. Tonight's episode will make you think. We will not simply regurgitate the lies that are being told by what is quickly becoming Big Brother's media, the mainstream corporate media, and the newcomers, Facebook, Twitter, and most of all, Google and its empire. We happen to see things a little bit differently than they do, and that's okay. But instead of silencing people, we ask you to watch, listen, and keep an open mind. Use logic and common sense, and don't take anyone's word as final, even, or perhaps most importantly, mine. But instead, listen to all sides and make up your own mind. I believe you're smart enough to figure things out without a Big Brother babysitter. Only communist, fascist, or authoritarians silence honest questioning and differing opinions. We celebrate real diversity, the kind that counts, the diversity of thought. The attacks are already happening. That's why we ask that you join us now. It's more essential than ever to become a Blaze TV subscriber. Go to blazetv.com/Glenn and sign up for a free trial tonight. Then get $20 off an annual subscription by using the promo code Fight the Mob. Man, time has changed this country. Do you remember when it wasn't always this hectic, this divisive, this insane? A time when tragedy brought us together. It didn't rip us apart. A time when Americans stood for something, that shining city on the hill. It represented more than just hard work and opportunity and absolute freedom. It also represented a group of citizens who proudly defended those principles. Man, time has changed this country.
If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild.
But it's not too late. As long as we stop erasing our history and start learning from it. Because what's happening to our country today is far more than riots and looting and violence in the streets. With a media that supports it and politicians too fearful to call it out.
Calling the police may mean more harm is done.
What's happening is a new cultural revolution. A religious, godlike devotion to everything but God. It's happened before. In a very short period of time, Mao Zedong destroyed China, effectively changing the way people lived, worked, and thought. Young activists were the first in the streets, forcing others to bow down to the new dominating ideology. Signs were torn down, statues destroyed, buildings defaced with propaganda. The non-supporters ridiculed, humiliated, even imprisoned. But then, suddenly, simply erasing the old world wasn't enough. Killing all of those who refused to bow down was. We're in the early stages of a total revolution, America. The similarities are too striking to ignore. So what's next for all of us who refuse to bow? We'll show you. Tonight, the most dangerous cult in America. 2 weeks ago, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser had Black Lives Matter painted in large yellow letters on the street leading to the White House. Oh, and she also renamed the street and the square in front of Lafayette Park as Black Lives Matter Plaza. Well, now a group is suing Mayor Bowser for violating the First Amendment Establishment Clause. The lawsuit says she's demonstrating a preference for a cult orthodoxy. The lawsuit goes on to call Black Lives Matter a denominational sect of the religion of secular humanism, and that the movement is religious because it, quote, has public ritualistic atonement ceremonies and incantations, end quote. Newsweek claims the group filing the lawsuit is a hate group, presumably because the group's stance on traditional marriage. But regardless, they're not the first ones to bring up the religious nature of this movement. This convergence of BLM movement with cultural Marxism, with an uncompromising new religious aspect, has created a new radicalism that we have not seen in America before. This force is determined to take the nation hostage in the wake of the George Floyd tragedy. They are demanding some sort of radical reckoning that includes redistribution of wealth. Don't believe me? Stay with me. To criticize any aspect of the current movement is considered now off limits. Actually, it's considered racist. But what we're witnessing is a form of civilized jihad. And I say civilized only because of the cultural Marxists. They're not lopping off heads yet. But it is very much a kind of holy war. And there are meetings all around the country, just like this one in Maryland, that have a creepy kind of religious festive vibe about them. John McWhorter, he's a writer and English professor at Columbia University. In 2015, he was on the leading edge of recognizing what he called, quote, our flawed new religion of anti-racism. Now follow me here, because I want to pull out several quotes for you that explain this religion. McWhorter says, quote, anti-racism is now what any naive, unbiased anthropologist would describe as a new and increasingly dominant religion. It is what we worship, as sincerely and fervently as we worship God and Jesus, and among most blue state Americans, more so. He also says this religion has original sin. Quote, to be white is to be born with the stain of unearned privilege. The enlightened white person is to, I assume regularly, acknowledge that they possess white privilege. Note that many embrace the idea of inculcating white kids with their responsibility to acknowledge privilege from as early an age as possible, in sessions starting as early as elementary school, end quote. He compares that to kids being taught in Sunday school at church, but with no official churches of anti-racism yet. So, in the meantime, I guess we have to have CNN. That'll be the church, I guess. They just recently had a town hall where they hosted Sesame Street, urging parents to discuss white privilege with their children. McWhorter also says this religion has priests and scripture. Scripture from the writer Ta-Nehisi Coates, who has been described as revered and gifted, expounding on crucial points of the new religion. Quote, Coates is celebrated as the writer who most aptly expresses the scripture that America's past was built on racism and that racism still permeates the national fabric. There's even some sort of seminary for the religion now called the Anti-Racist Research and Policy Center in American University. Isn't that a Catholic university in Washington, D.C.? The founding director of the center is Ibram X. Kendi. He is the author of another source of scripture for the movement, a book called How to Be an Anti-Racist. McWhorter says that, like some religions, there are certain questions you're not supposed to ask. For example, why are black people so upset about one white cop killing a black man when black men are in much more danger of being killed by one another? He says that if you press the issue, you just don't get it. And you're probably a racist just for asking that question in the first place. Finally, he says, quote, anti-racism parallels religion also in the proselytizing impulse. Key to being an anti-racist is a sense that there's always a flock of unconverted heathen out there, end quote. And there have been lots of conversions lately. Last week, white female celebrities with large Instagram followings gave up control of their Instagram accounts to black women for the day to magnify their voices. The campaign is called #ShareTheMic.Now. Then there was this awkward confessional video by some of Hollywood's devout followers of this new religion.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility for every unchecked moment.
For every time it was easier to ignore than to call it out for what it was.
Every not so funny joke. Every unfair stereotype.
Just like John McWhorter describes, the racist guilt of white people is just assumed, and the religion requires that they perform a ritual of repentance. That PSA was made in partnership with the NAACP, and the video points viewers to the website itakeresponsibility.org, where you're given a menu of sins to confess to, and then the chance to show how sorry you are by pledging money to several organizations, including Black Lives Matter. This religion also imposes other rituals that must be performed to avoid being suspected of racism, like the recent social media blackout day, where users posted a plain black square to show support for Black Lives Matter. Of course, there's an irony of not saying anything on social media by totally saying something on social media. You get it? But again, that's probably just one of those things that you just don't bring up. And then there's the corporate ritual of proving your company is faithful to the religion. How many emails have you received lately from every company that you've ever bought anything from in the last year? Emails saying such and such company is against racism, as if this is a new development? Hasn't that been, by and large, the default position for most of America for decades now? No one disagrees that George Floyd's death is appalling. We all agree it was bad. So why are companies tripping over themselves to let you know how not racist they are? Here's the reason. They're terrified of this cult. The cult of anti-racism, made up of both white progressives and radical BLM followers. The cult of anti-racism is in the middle of a new Inquisition, where the guilt is already assumed because you were born with it. Now it's just a matter of you getting caught and punished. The original Inquisition happened in Europe in the 12th century, and it lasted several hundred years. Inquisitors from the Catholic Church would arrive in your town, announce their presence, and then give people a chance to admit to any heresy. If you confessed, you might receive a lighter punishment, like a mere whipping or being sent on a pilgrimage. But if someone else accused you of heresy, well, you'd be forced to testify. And actually, it was only an opportunity to confess. And if you didn't confess, you were tortured and executed, which sometimes meant being burned at the stake. Heretics were not allowed to face their accusers. Of course. So you were accused of heresy. Well, you were just guilty. Does any of this sound familiar? An article in The New Yorker last year featured the nation's most prominent workplace diversity trainer, a white woman named Robin DiAngelo. The article describes her as, quote, endlessly deferential. For her, racism is basically whatever any person of color thinks it is. In the story, she tells about the world she and her fellow white people have all the power and therefore all the responsibility to do the grueling but transformative spiritual work for what she calls for. She seems to be right under this new religion, and in the current environment, virtually anything can be deemed racist. Just ask the executive editor of the Los Angeles Times.
One of the active debates we had over the past week was about the use of the word looting to describe the destruction of property and very much the feeling among the Black journalists at the Los Angeles Times who frankly educated the rest of us to the fact that looting had a pejorative racist connotation, and that comparing it to the kind of behavior of the police and the kind of behavior that we witnessed really was a false equivalency, and yet it was one that we were making as journalists.
The world has gone mad. Who stands a chance with this kind of inquisition? During China's Cultural Revolution in the 1960s, Mao and his Red Guards killed at least 1.5 million Chinese citizens and imprisoned or tortured as many as 20 million more. This American Cultural Revolution isn't rounding up and killing people yet. God forbid it ever comes to that. But fueled by the intense religion of anti-racism, this movement is taking people out in a different way. First, it's cancellation. In the past 2 weeks, we've already seen several high-profile resignations for various anti-racism sins. The editor of the Philadelphia Inquirer, the editor-in-chief of Bon Appetit, the CEO of CrossFit. They're trying to cancel Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson for daring to ask some of those forbidden questions about the BLM organization. Keep going, Tucker and Candace. The president and board chairman of the Poetry Foundation also forced to resign. The Poetry Foundation. They both happen to be old white guys. You might think, well, who cares? It's the Poetry Foundation. But this is the textbook example of how the cult of anti-racism operates. The Poetry Foundation is one of the wealthiest literary organizations in the world, at least in the U.S., with an endowment of $250 million. After George Floyd's death, the foundation released a short statement expressing solidarity with the black community and declaring its faith in the strength and power of poetry to uplift in times of despair. Well, I think you see the problem there. They didn't go far enough for the cultural Marxists in the room. A group of black poets wrote an open letter denouncing the foundation's short statement. They wrote, and I quote, "Given the stakes, which equate to no less than genocide against black people, the watery vagaries of this statement are ultimately of violence." You see what they did there? They took a statement of support and interpreted it as violence. But wait, there's more. Ultimately, we dream of a world in which the massive wealth hoarding that underlies the foundation's work would be replaced by the redistribution of every cent to those who labored amassed those funds. So wait a minute, it is literally Marxism there, right? It's not about racism at all. It's about good old communism. Make sure you give the money to the workers. Okay. So why is this religion of anti-racism the most dangerous cult in America right now? Well, because it's all-encompassing and inescapable, and it's changing the foundation of our country almost overnight. The inquisitors are out to force you to catch you in any kind of heresy. And when they do, you don't have the right to face your accusers. You don't have a right to try to defend yourself. If you do try, well, that just simply proves you are racist. It is dangerous because you're guilty until proven really super sorry. And even if you repent, you probably still are going to get canceled at best. I have a friend. He's not working out much since the lockdown started. But he's kind of and he gets bored, and he eats for entertainment. And entertainment usually doesn't end up like a salad or a protein shake. It's more like a milkshake. So my friend's workout plan was to count the steps from the couch to the refrigerator as exercise. Okay, but. Then his wife came home, and she said to me, him, that, what are you doing, fatso? And she had mentioned these Built bars over and over again, and I said I didn't want a protein bar because protein bars taste like dog crap. Not that I've tasted dog crap, but I guess that's what they would taste like. Until that woman left without any snacks in the house, and so I had to try one, and I actually loved it. I loved it so much I actually called the company and asked them to be a sponsor of this program. So many really great flavors: coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, they've got chocolate mint, and it's with real chocolate. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to order your Built Bars, and you can just go to the website right there at the bottom of the screen, BuiltBar.com, and use the promo code BECK. That's promo code BECK at BuiltBar.com. You'll love it, and it's good for you.
Two things I know for sure about my dog. One, he's a member of the family. I love my dog, and we all love our dog. We want him to live the longest life possible. Two, he's incredibly hard to get to eat. Some family member must stand next to him the whole time. He'll, go down to start to eat, and then if you move, he won't eat. It's incredible. I just found something that makes him like his food. Yes. It's Rough Greens VitaSmart. If you're feeding especially kibbles, it's all dead. They've killed all the microbacteria, everything that's actually your dog needs. They've killed it as they sterilize it, because it has to be on the shelf for 2 to 3 years. And the dogs don't usually like it. This is a supplement. The dogs love it, and it's really healthy for them.
Take the Rough Greens 14-Day Jumpstart Challenge today for just $14.95 and see the difference in your dog in 14 days or less. Go to roughgreens.com/Beck. That's roughgreens.com/Beck.
Clean up your lawn and garden the smart way with a DR Chipper Shredder. Drop lighter materials into the shredder, and the DR will pulverize it into a fine mulch you can use to enrich your soil. Reduce leaves, garden cuttings, sticks, and twigs, even big branches, to a fraction of their original volume. The chipper cuts branches up to 5 inches thick into attractive wood chips that are great for landscaping. A DR Chipper Shredder is a complete yard and garden tool that turns your trash into treasure and leaves your property looking great. Call now or go online to lock in factory direct savings on the full line of DR Chipper Shredders.
For a free buyer's guide about the full line of DR Chippers, call 1-800-386-5401. Your satisfaction is guaranteed with our 6-month trial, so call now, 1-800-386-5401. Free shipping is now in effect, online at drchipper.com.
So I'm sure you've heard already about intermittent fasting. It's blown up in popularity as a healthy and effective weight loss strategy. When you're with Fast Blast and you're doing intermittent fasting, you actually see results, like right away, every single day. It's a really great way to lose weight, and it's a lot easier than it looks, especially when it comes to using the Fast Blast smoothie. It's uniquely formulated for intermittent fasting. You get great energy, fewer cravings, and the best part is it's very simple and tastes great. You don't have to worry about yucky texture or chemical aftertaste. On fasting days, you have one smoothie every couple of hours, lots of liquids, and it keeps you satisfied. The smoothies come in a convenient and easy-to-use squeezable pouch, and you don't have to worry about blending it or scales or calorie counting or carb counting. Forget all that. I've lost 8 pounds. It's really easy, and I'm going to lose a lot more with Fast Blast. It's a great way to go. Get all the information at fastblast.com/blaze. Get started with Fast Blast for a healthier and smaller you.
For those who will bow to no king but God, I recommend that you Join us at the Blaze. Let us link arms and stand together. BlazeTV.com. Make sure you use the promo code FIGHTTheMob and join us. By the way, Adam Carolla, a man who said just this week, I'm not bowing down to anybody. I will not kneel down or apologize. He's coming up in a minute. Before the break, I mentioned the Cultural Revolution that started in China in the 1960s. And the current movement in the U.S. is also a cultural revolution, and it is parallel with what Mao did. The scary parallels between these two movements in recent weeks are obvious. At the time in China, Mao was feeling threatened within the Communist Party, and he felt he needed to consolidate his power. So Mao shut down China's schools and then rallied the nation's youth to help him bring back that old-fashioned communist revolution spirit. Well, together, Mao and the younger generation would purge China of impure elements of society. There was also a religious element to it, just like we're seeing now in the U.S. Mao's famous Little Red Book of his own quotations was printed and distributed by millions. This was essentially scripture of the Cultural Revolution. Well, within months, Mao created his own sort of cult with millions of young worshippers and himself as the worship leader. In just a few short months, the students formed a paramilitary unit called the Red Guard and roamed around and attacked mostly the older generation of Chinese who didn't have the right level of communist spirit or who were deemed dangerous in some way. In the end, their purge killed an estimated 1.5 million people, and as many as 20 million were tortured, put in prison, and had their property stolen. This is the Marxist cult that worked to purge China of the four olds, the old customs, the old culture, the old habits, and the old ideas. Again, any of it sound familiar? It is what the Cultural Revolution mobs are in the streets working on even as I speak. And as part of their purge, the Chinese destroyed historical sites and tore down statues. Protesters across the U.S. have been busy doing the same. The current religious zeal of canceling editors and CEOs, but also passionate about canceling Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Christopher Columbus. I mean, really, at this point, the only shocking thing is that there are any statues of Columbus left to be beheaded. The Chinese Cultural Revolution gutted the arts as well. Mao's wife was in charge of this part of the purge. No Western music, no Western literature, movies, or theater allowed. There were massive book and artifact burnings, and if a piece of art had a hint of foreign influence, it was destroyed. And if a piece of Chinese art didn't pass Mao's communist sniff test, it was destroyed as well. In the past 2 weeks, a similar deleting process has started here. Have you noticed? While it may not be a painting, the long-running TV show Cops was taken off the Paramount network. It's been on the air since 1989. Paramount already scrubbed all mention of Cops from its website. It's like that didn't happen. A&E also pulled its own police docuseries called Live PD because, those shows too often depict police officers as good guys. Now that reality cop shows are canceled, next on the fictional cop show list, Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol, a cartoon about police dogs on Nickelodeon. Because you can't have kids believing that a cop might be there to help. You also can't have kids noticing Confederate flags on souped-up Dodge Chargers, especially ones nicknamed General Lee. That's right, kids, because I know you're flocking to it. Amazon may now stop streaming The Dukes of Hazzard, that late 70s TV comedy, if you can call it that, about good old boys, car chases, and Daisy Duke. Is nothing sacred. And naturally, Gone with the Wind has already been removed from HBO Max streaming service. Of course, Hollywood is clamoring for censorship like this. No, wait, they don't ever clamor. That's weird, isn't it? Almost ironic. It is also ironic that Gone with the Wind features Hattie McDaniel, the first black actor to win an Academy Award for her role in that film. But yes, let's cancel Gone with the Wind because it's dangerous propaganda. You are a child and you cannot be trusted with your own mind. Even the communist dictators lose control of their community-led forces. In 1967, within the first year of China's Cultural Revolution, different factions of Mao's Red Guards started fighting with each other for dominance. With all the violent chaos, several Chinese cities were on the verge of anarchy. So Mao flooded the cities with army troops to restore order. But it was a total meltdown of society. Ultimately, after a decade of death and destruction, and at least 1.5 million dead, Mao got the complete reboot of China that he wanted. This is exactly what the cultural Marxist forces are fighting for now in America. If you want a picture of their vision of the nation, just look at Chaz or Chop or whatever it is they're calling that in Seattle this week.
It is not Chaz, it is Chop. Chop. Has anybody here ever heard of the French Revolution before? Yeah. That is another revolution because people started putting property over lives. They started putting money over people. Does anybody here know what happened to the people who did not get on board with the French Revolution? Let's say it louder. Say it louder. That is the message we need to send. We are serious. This is not a joke. I am tired of seeing my people be genocided by every definition of the word.
They are serious, and Mao would be so proud. If you're in constant pain, you're not alone, I know, because I was in pain. My hands were in such pain that I couldn't write anymore. I thought for sure I'd never pick up a pen again. I certainly wouldn't paint. Tanya would get up in mornings and she would tie my shoes or button my shirt sometimes. It was humiliating. I can relate to the millions of Americans whose pain has dramatically changed their quality of life. Veterans who can barely walk, or folks who worked in manufacturing, and only after taking Relief Factor could they return to work or return to life. Now, these are extreme cases. Most Relief Factor's clients are folks who just, don't enjoy taking a walk anymore, playing golf or playing with their grandkids. I started taking Relief Factor about almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and it has helped me with my pain. I feel the best that I've felt in years. 100% drug-free and created by doctors. Join me and get your life back with Relief Factor in the 3-week quick start trial for $19.99. You don't have anything to lose but your pain. 800-500-8384. A drug-free, natural way. 800-500-8384. It's relieffactor.com.
It's only a matter of time until your check engine light comes on, or worse yet, your car needs repair. That could mean a big surprise auto repair bill. That's why it's so important you call CarShield today.
I was elated that I had CarShield. I was more than happy.
It's no fun when you have a car and it's broken and you can't pay for it to get it fixed.
So, if your vehicle has 5,000 to 150,000 miles, just tell us the make and model of your car or truck and get an instant plan quote. In a matter of minutes, you can be covered.
My experience with CarShield is that they absolutely come through every time I need them.
If my car breaks down, I can count on CarShield to cover it for me. CarShield definitely has my back.
Your car could break down at any moment, but you could stop expensive repair bills by calling CarShield. Waiting could cost you thousands, so pick up the phone and get CarShield's very affordable coverage right now. Call 800-920-9156, 800-920-9156.
Are you looking for a trustworthy publishing company to publish your book? One that understands the process and upholds Christian values in its business practices?
Introducing Covenant Books, an author-friendly publisher who shares your beliefs and wants to publish your story. Call us today to get a free author packet to help get you started.
We realize your book is unique, personal, and written with a higher purpose. That's the content we're looking for.
We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process with professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the industry.
Covenant distributes and sells your book online and in bookstores everywhere. We convert your book in ebook format and sell it on Amazon, Apple iTunes, and to these distributors. Our authors love us.
So if you've written a biography, a devotional, a memoir, self-help, or any genre, we can help. Be like these authors and get your book published and sold today.
Call for your free author's packet at 800-499-2830. That's 800-499-2830.
Mom, thank God you're gonna be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure. Oh, so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-730-7564. That's 1-800-730-7564.
Most investors took a huge hit with the coronavirus crash. That pain, suffering, and financial loss didn't have to happen, and we'll show you how with a free demo of Vantage Point. Text the word FREE to 411-411 to learn how we've applied artificial intelligence to protect your capital so you can navigate and thrive in volatile markets. Text the word FREE to 411-411 now.
The Rubin Report with Dave Rubin.
There's a series of comics now in Public People that are calling everyone racists and bigots and all the conservatives are bad guys.
Big ideas.
You never want the government setting prices or setting wages. That's supposed to be done by the free enterprise system.
And uncomfortable truths.
Gay people being executed in 15 Muslim majority countries. Why isn't this a conversation? Why hasn't anybody mentioned this?
The Rubin Report. Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Blaze Live.
Well, the guy I wanted to talk to today actually is my emotional support animal at this point. That's the name of his new book. But he is an emotional support animal because I just wanted to sit with him on an airplane and hug him the entire trip when I heard him talk about never apologizing and he'll never kneel down. And he knows exactly what's going on. Adam Carolla, the author of the New York Times bestsellers, In 50 Years, We'll All Be Chicks. Not Taco Bell Material, President Me, Daddy Stop Talking. He is also the co-creator of several things, co-host of syndicated radio, MTV show Loveline, co-creator of The Man Show. He's been on Dancing with Stars and Celebrity Apprentice and everything else. And he's also the Guinness World Record holder for the most downloaded podcast. Mr. Adam Carolla, how are you?
I'm doing well, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I want to start with The Man Show. If there's anyone who has something to apologize for, it is The Man Show, starring you and Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy has become this guy who seems to be apologizing for everything and kind of leading this witch hunt in some cases. Am I wrong?
Well, a couple things. To operate in Hollywood, I don't really operate in Hollywood. I operate sort of independently and outside of Hollywood. So I don't have to worry about the mob coming after me, or if I do have the mob come after me, I've sort of built my own pirate ship. So I'm independent. I don't have to operate inside of Hollywood. If you have to operate inside of Hollywood, you have to operate under a different set of rules. There's really no other way to negotiate that. This book
so is there
I
a
wrote,
point, though, Adam, that don't you lose your soul by I mean, isn't there some point where you're like, this is gone way too far?
I don't know how it works. I know everyone is frightened. I know that everyone is in fear of losing their job. I also know a lot of people stand by in and believe many of the things they're talking about. So I don't know who doesn't believe it, who's going along with it, who's scared, who's towing the line because they're scared the angry mob is going to catch up to them. I don't know. I don't really care. I've always been independent. I started this podcast almost 12 years ago because I knew this day was coming. I make independent documentaries. My documentaries don't end up at Sundance. They don't end up on HBO. They don't go to any of those places. They're never going to go to those places. They're good enough. If you go to Rotten Tomatoes and look at all my documentaries, they should gain entry into Tribeca. They should gain entry into Sundance. That party is closed to guys like me. Now, they shouldn't work that way, but that's the way it works. I'm aware of it. This book I just wrote, I went to all my former publishers who are in New York City, 3 times New York Times bestseller list. I went to all of them. They had no deals for me. They had no interest in what I wanted to say, even though I've sold a ton of product for them in the past. Well, that was a different time. And I've always been aware that the business is fickle. And if you get on the wrong side of the issues, you could be canceled. And that's why I'm sitting in my own studio that I built in my own building that I own.
So, Adam, I understand that because I'm sitting in my own studio that I built and I own. However, I think we've turned a corner. What's happened in the last, from coronavirus to today, we're a nation I don't recognize at all.
Yeah. Well, I say this, and I think people think I'm kidding, but look at the title, Progressive Movement. Is there anything in that title that would suggest it ever stops? It has the word progress and movement. It's a perpetual motion machine. It will not stop. It'll start with, some basic ideas that we can agree or disagree about, like gay marriage. And you go, oh, okay, well, I do know a gay couple, and I would like them to get married, and maybe they should be afforded the rights that heterosexual couples should be. And that's a real thing to talk about. But once they clear that hurdle, then they're going for the third bathroom. And now they're getting into, biological males competing against biological females in UFC or sprints. And it just keeps going. And so it's getting to the point where it's getting absurd, and that's what we're seeing now. But it won't stop because of its title, Progressive Movement.
But aren't you? We all knew it was out of control when a horse was an emotional support animal on a plane, an actual horse.
Well,
needed
it's
more
funny.
evidence.
I used to laugh, and it's probably in 50 years we'll all be chicks. That book's only 10 years old. That most of that stuff came true. I started laughing. I started saying, what happens when I introduce everyone to Gilligan, my emotional support pelican that I'm going to bring with me on flights? And it seemed like a joke at the time. Emotional support pelican on a plane now just sounds like something you'd read in USA Today, right?
Right. And it wouldn't be the lead part of the story. That would just be a side sitting, and the killer was sitting next to Susan, who had brought her emotional support pelican on board. It wouldn't even be the story.
Well, then at some point there'd have to be racist allegations about the pelican, and that's how we would have it removed from the flight. And I would explain the pelican is not traveling with me because it's undergoing reassignment surgery to become a sparrow.
So, Adam, I saw you talk about apologies, and I think we're at a time when men's hearts are failing them. I think there's a lot of people that, I can't believe how many people are being fired and apologizing, and what's his name? Drew Brees. What the heck is that all about? Can you talk at all about?
Yeah, look, if you are going to start taking people's livelihoods away from them, then there's going to be a lot of apologies. Remember 10 minutes ago or 10 years ago when the NBA had the dust up with China and, standing with Hong Kong, how many people leapt out of the woodwork to apologize for a tweet that we all believe in? We all believe in standing with Hong Kong, but how fast did all those heroes apologize? Well, you're messing with their livelihood. And when you mess with someone's livelihood, the apologies come fast and furious.
But they don't mean anything. And
of course
and it's different between I mean, I didn't like the apologies with the NBA, but I have to tell you, it's that's different than what's happening now, where you have to kneel down and apologize for being white or whatever it is that's coming our way tomorrow. That's totally different. And at some point, if you go down this road and you're apologizing, I'm just trying to think of the people that didn't have a problem with the Jews in Germany, but then all of a sudden they were the ones closing the gas chamber door. I mean, you don't get from a normal human being to the one closing the gas chamber door overnight. You take a whole bunch of little steps towards insanity.
Well, look at Los Angeles and the homeless population. It starts off as a couple of guys living under a freeway overpass, and you don't do anything about it. And then there's a couple of more guys, and you don't do anything about it. And then there's a small encampment, and you don't do anything about it. And then you blink your eyes, and tents have sprung up all over, not Skid Row. They outgrew Skid Row and downtown a long time ago. They're into the San Fernando Valley now. They're into Encino and Studio City and nice suburbs. I mean, this is what happened. You blink your eyes. You don't do anything about the problem. You don't stand up. You don't speak. You blink your eyes. It's completely out of control. And that's where we're at. And back to Drew Brees. Yeah, we'd like Drew Brees to stand by his statement of honoring the flag. But you own your studio. I own my studio. Last I checked, Drew Brees doesn't own the Superdome. Where does he play? Is it the Superdome? Yeah.
But he plays in New Orleans. But the New Orleans, the owner there is probably not one that's making him apologize. Maybe he is, but he's kind of a conservative kind of guy.
So Drew Brees has to go to work every day with 10 or 11 guys on the defensive side of the ball who are African American, and 7 or 8 guys on the offensive side of the ball who are African American. And that's where his apology is coming from. It's a business decision. Quarterbacks, they do a hook slide now, right, Glenn? When they're running the ball, they don't lean, they get 10 yards down the field. They don't lean and go head first into a strong safety or an outside linebacker. They do a hook slide. Now, that's called a business decision. They may lose a couple of yards, but they pop up uninjured. What Drew Brees is doing, he's doing a slide. He's not going head first. He's doing a slide. He's making a business decision.
All right. Back with Adam Carolla here in 1 minute. First, let me tell you about Goldline. When the Dow drops, 1,600 points in a day and the Fed tells you everything's fine, and then when there's riots on the street and the Dow goes up 2,400 points for no reason whatsoever, there's riots on the streets and they say everything is fine. I don't think everything is fine. I think our debt is out of control. I think the dollar is going to start a massive slide. And that will really, truly affect you and your buying power. It's like stealing money. This is what they're doing when they're printing all this money. They are stealing the value of the money that you do have. It's going to cut that buying power maybe in half. And as that goes, gold goes up. Don't trust me on this one. I've only been right on almost all of this from the get-go. But trust people like Goldman Sachs. There you go. How about that? They say that gold will be $3,000 to $3,500 in the next 12 months. If that's true, God forbid, that means the entire world is on fire. Do yourself a favor. Do your own homework. You're smart enough to figure it out. See if Goldline is right for you and gold and silver is right for you. It is for my family and me at 866-GOLDLINE. 1-866-GOLDLINE. Invest in something solid at goldline.com.
The distinction between the media and the Democrat Party does not exist anymore.
Mark Levin speaks his mind.
What the hell do you think this phony impeachment thing's all about? They're interfering with the next election.
He tells it like it is.
They are creating in this country chaos when it comes to governance, and they don't care.
And he holds nothing back.
Listen to this moron, rambling buffoon.
Levin TV. Watch exclusive episodes at blazetv.com/Levin.
Attention all timeshare owners. Were you a victim of a high-pressure or dishonest timeshare sales agent? Were you misled and confused by what you were buying? Did the timeshare fail to deliver what you were promised? Do you feel that you overpaid and just won out? If you answered yes to any of these questions, we can help. We're timeshare compliant, and every day we help hundreds of timeshare victims protect their rights, and we can help you too. Our team can legally terminate your timeshare agreement, ending the payments forever, saving you thousands. But you must act now. Call now for a free consultation. With one simple call, the professionals at Timeshare Compliance can legally terminate your timeshare agreement and help end your financial suffering. You could save thousands. So call now before another payment is due. Timeshare Compliance is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Don't wait. Call 800-899-8701. 800-899-8701. 800-899-8701.
Promotional products may not be able to talk, but you can be certain they're saying a lot in a language that's beyond words. Like, thank you for all you do. We value your partnership and welcome back. The right products say a lot about you, your team, and your brand. And 4imprint speaks their language. So when your message matters, count on the certainty of 4imprint. Explore thousands of promotional products at 4imprint.com. 4imprint, for certain.
At Leaf Filter, we're on a never-ending journey to end gutter cleaning forever. Whoa! Way too dangerous, Bill. Say goodbye to that ladder. Way too clogged, Melissa. Those black gutters are causing serious damage to your home. Look at these cracks in your foundation. Leaf Filter, the nation's #1 rated gutter protection system, will keep you safe and protect your home. Leaf Filter's stainless micromesh screen fits over your existing gutters and is guaranteed to filter out everything except for water. No more leaves or debris in your gutters for the life of your home. Schedule your free gutter inspection and estimate, just like Paul. With Leaf Filter's lifetime warranty, we guarantee you'll never have to clean those nasty gutters again. Everybody okay with that? I should. Call 833-LEAF FILTER or go to getleaffilter.com for your free gutter inspection and estimate. Act now and save 15% off your purchase.
So I guess, Adam, what I'm trying to get at with you is I understand making business decisions, but is there a point, have we reached it? Are we approaching it? Have we passed it? Is there a point to where you have to say, yeah, I don't think I'm going to compromise, even if it means I'm going to live under a bridge or I'm going to whatever, because what's happening is insane? Or do you just not think that we're headed down a really, really dangerous path with freedom?
Well, I think we have to organize. Like when I was in junior high, we do something called a book drop. And the book drop was something we'd secretly organize. We go, okay, at 11:35 a.m., exactly in the 8th grade, everyone drops your book at the same time. And it was a funny thing to do. And we're going to have to organize a truth drop. See, because if you're going to individually, you're going to have your career destroyed. If we all did it at once, if we all said it once in unison, we're not going to apologize for something you found in a yearbook from 26 years ago. I'm not going to apologize for standing by the flag. I'm not going to label myself a racist just because of the color of my skin, and I'm not going to denounce my white privilege. If we all just did it at once, it would work. The problem is they break everyone off into these individual cases where they can be taken out. If we all just rose at once, if we organized a truth drop for noon Pacific on Friday, then we could do it. Or we could just sort of go our route, which is I'm independent. I'm not apologizing. By the way, they don't come to me for apologies because they know they're not going to get it. They come to people where they know they can get the apology. And my feeling is yes.
Go ahead.
The apology is what they want because that's power. They're not interested in the apology. They know you don't mean it. It's coercing you to do it. That's what they get off on. They want the power of the apology, not the apology itself. They don't think that Drew Brees thinks any differently or any coach or anybody. who's been, wished out of the cornfield feels any different. They're drunk with their own apology power, and that's what they want you to do. It's the power of the apology,
and that's why
not
they go.
The apology.
That's why they go after leaders in the community and very visible people. But they're going to people now. You say you don't issue an apology. Howard frickin' Stern. Howard Stern is in their sights now, and I think he's kind of bowed.
I had not heard the follow-up to the initial, blackface incident. I didn't hear what he said or how he'd apologized. But that's the business they're in. And if you want to suck it up and keep your job and get on with your life, then that's the road to take. And you have to also realize that everyone in everyone's camp, I don't know that Drew Brees came up with that idea on his own. There's a publicist, there's a crisis management team, they're all saying, just do this. In a way, I'm friends with Mark Garagos, the attorney. Mark has been my attorney in the past. When Mark says, hey, just do this, you listen to him. And when the publicist crisis, alert team shows up and tells Drew Brees what to do, and probably goes and creates the written apology for him that he simply needs to sign or stamp or read into a camera, then he does it. And that's where we're at.
Well, Adam, thank you for at least this week being my emotional support animal. I appreciate that.
Well, there's no apologies in this book. It's the first chapter just says no apologies. Whatever you think about it, not apologizing.
Good for you. Adam Carolla, thank you very much. Book is available everywhere. I'm not your emotional support animal. Adam Carolla. Back in a minute.
Most investors took a huge hit with the coronavirus crash. That pain, suffering, and financial loss didn't have to happen, and we'll show you how with a free demo of Vantage Point. Text the word FREE to 411411 to learn how we've applied artificial intelligence to protect your capital so you can navigate and thrive in volatile markets. Text the word FREE to 411411 now.
Dr. J, my fat pants are too big for me now.
What's that all about? That's Dr. Jay Yapuri, co-founder of Riduzone, talking about his hopes for Riduzone users. Recently, I sat down with Dr. Jay to talk about how he helps his patients deal with weight issues.
What is your medical area of expertise?
I'm a gastroenterologist. That's a specialist in digestive and liver diseases. So anything and everything digestive from the mouth to the other end. Gut and digestive health is really fundamental to all aspects of our health and well-being.
What would you say is one of the biggest issues your patients face?
There are many reasons patients come in to see me. One of the biggest by far is their struggles with weight.
How did you get involved with Riduzone?
I read an article in a medical journal about a molecule, OEA, that we actually produce in our own small intestine that has beneficial effects on cravings, weight management, and metabolism. About a week later, I happened to meet an individual at a conference who was working on a supplement form of this same molecule. Once we met, I knew we had to work together to bring this potential solution to as many people as possible.
So what is OEA?
OEA actually stands for oleoyl ethanolamide. This is a molecule that's actually made in small quantities in the human small intestine. OEA has been found to have beneficial effects on food cravings by activating the part of your brain that says, I'm full. In addition, OEA has been found to have beneficial effects on weight management and metabolism.
What is your desire for Riduzone users?
I could give you a long, scientific answer to that question. But my hope for Riduzone users is that they could come to me and say, Dr. J, my fat pants are too big for me now. And Sarah, honestly, for me, that's what all of this is about.
I know about fat pants. That's me, right there. I use Riduzone to help me keep the weight off. Right now, you can get 30% off a 3-month supply with free shipping at riduzone.com. That is riduzone.com.
Adam Carolla is right about one thing, and that is that if you want the truth, you're not going to get it from anybody who has his job at stake because of sponsors or whatever. I think it's worse than that. I think that even those of us who own our own properties are going to have a very hard time speaking out. I urge you to join us at blazetv.com and use the promo code FIGHTTHEMOB and save $20 off your year's subscription. Sign up for a free trial right now. Use Fight the Mob at blazetv.com. From